Okay, so a while back there was a math problem on Facebook or something, and it was written something like 9 divided by 3 times 3. And then there was a big debate on what the answer was, and anyway, I'll let you have that debate, but enjoying that conversation. But the problem is there really is only one way to do this because we have what's called the order of operations. There's a particular order to how we do things, and in math it makes a difference how you write them as well. Okay, so you may remember PEMDAS. I think that's one that's used a lot in schools. It stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So I say, oh, PEMDAS, order of operations. Okay, I don't usually write it that way. I write it this way. And there's a reason. So it's still parentheses. Now, sometimes they'll use a G for grouping, but it's like parentheses, or it could be brackets, or another type of grouping. And then E for the exponents. But here's multiplication and division. Notice that I've written them together because you don't do one first and then the other. That's the problem with this problem right here, why people would get it wrong. It goes from left to right. And the same with addition and subtraction. You don't do subtraction first and then addition. You don't do addition and then subtraction. They go together, and we work them from left to right. So you have to do them at the same. You do multiplication and division at one time, and then you do addition and subtraction at one time. But it goes left to right. Okay, so I'll go back to this problem because it's probably bugging you. So 9 divided by 3 comes first. So that's 3. And then 3 times 3, that's 9. So the answer should have been 9. But a lot of people were getting 1 because they were using the 3 times 3 first. Okay, but that's not how the order of operations works. Okay, oh, I have some examples before we get to that scary problem. Okay, so let's just start out with some addition and subtraction. Let's say we have 17 minus 7 plus 2. So this is addition and subtraction, right? We don't have any parentheses, exponents. We don't even have any multiplication or division. So we're just going to go left to right. 17 minus 7 is 10. 10 plus 2 is 12. Okay, so now let's say we have 24 divided by 6 times 2. Okay, well, we're going to do left to right. We're going to do this division. 24 divided by 6 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. I always like to put a box around my answers. Okay, now let's get a little more complicated. Let's say we have 15 times, oh, no, sorry, I wrote it wrong. I like to have my problems ahead of time. 15 minus 24 divided by 6 plus 7 times 2. Okay, so this one's a little bit longer. Well, I don't have any parentheses still, and I don't have any exponents, but I do have multiplication and division. So we're going to do, we're going to do this division right here first. So it's going to be 15 minus 24 divided by 6 is 4, plus, and then I can also do this multiplication. It's not going to bother that 4 any. So 7 times 2 is going to be 14. Now I can do the adding and subtracting from left to right. So 15 minus 4 is 11, plus the 14, and I'm going to get, what, 25? All right. And then finally I have one with some parentheses and exponents. Let's say we have 6 plus 6, oh, shoot. Let me rewrite that. 6 plus 6 minus 2 in parentheses, and we're going to square that. Okay, so first we do the parentheses, and so we're going to write 6 plus 4 squared. Now, I like to put the 4 in parentheses. That's probably just a habit of mine. I guess if you didn't, there wouldn't be any problems on this particular problem. Now I have to do the exponent. So I'm going to have 6 plus, now remember that's 4 squared. 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, and then finally I can do the addition, so I'm going to get 22 here. Okay, so there'll be some problems for you in the quiz so you can practice. Okay, now here's the scary formula one. Okay, now there's good news. this was in an example in a book, in the fire hydraulics book. It says, find the diameter of a nozzle. Okay, and they're going to give us the formula, but that's the diameter right there. So the diameter equals something. Find the diameter of a nozzle if it is discharging 812 GPM. Okay, so GPM is going to be 812. And at 80 PSI tip pressure, okay, I'm not sure on that one. Oh, this is written down here, sorry. And the C factor is 0.997. Okay, 0.997. And then it says, to solve this problem, substitute 812 for GPM. I believe GPM is gallons per minute. And then 80 for P. So I'm going to put a P in there. Or an 80 in for the P, sorry. And 0.997 for C. Okay, so now we know what everything is. PSI, that's pounds per square inch. Okay, so you do that when you do your tire pressure. So we can figure this out. But I want to go through it step by step because it's a little bit different than maybe you would do in a math class. Okay, so we're going to have 812. That's divided by, and notice they have parentheses here. Okay, the 29.84, that's just a constant. That's not changing. It's not a variable. Times, and then we have 0.997 times the square root of 80. And a little more room there. Okay. And all that giant square root symbol is over the whole thing. Okay, so this is how you figure out the diameter of the nozzle that you need. Okay, so apparently that's important. Okay, so as we go through this, how is it going to work? That's the part I wanted to show you. The first thing we're going to do is the square root right inside those parentheses. Okay, so you can think about your PEMDAS, but if I'm inside the parentheses, I've got to follow the order of operations in there, and I'm going to have to do that square root first. Okay, so I'm going to have 812 divided by 29.84 times 0.997. And then I don't know what the square root of 80 is. I'm going to have to look that up. So I'm going to look that up, and I'm going to round it off to 2 decimal places. So it turns out to be 8.94. Okay. Now we're going to do that stuff inside the parentheses. Now, I'm not going to do that by hand. I'm going to put that in a calculator, 29.84 times 0.997 times 8.94, and I'm going to round it off to 2 decimal places. Now, I recommend you double check these calculations on your calculator to make sure you're getting the same thing. Okay, so now I just have one little thing left to do. I'm going to do this division, right? I should underline what I did. I did the multiplication. Now I'm going to do this division. And again, I'm going to round off to 2 decimal places. So they keep rounding off. Now, that means our answer is an approximation because we keep rounding off. The more you round off, the less accurate you get. But it's okay for our purposes. Okay, so when we round that off, we're going to get 3.05. And that is that division right here that we did. Okay, and then finally, to get the answer, we'll have to do the square root of that. And we wind up getting 1.75. We're going to round that off. And this is in terms of inches. And somewhere it probably told us that. Okay. Now, you could make that 1.75 into a fraction. 1 3/4 inches, because maybe when you're picking out your nozzle, that maybe that's how they're labeled. So 1 3/4 inch, nozzle or something. Maybe it's labeled 1.75. Okay. Now, if you have any questions how to do that conversion, you take the 75 over 100, because it's 75 hundredths, tenths, hundredths, and then you reduce that, and that's how you get 3/4. Okay. So just in case you were curious. So that's like a big time hydraulics formula, but exciting based on the order of operations and